Hi, welcome back to another travel video by Gary Rose Travels. Please hit the like and the subscribe button for more videos, and also visit GaryRoseTravels.com for all the best budget backpacker advice. And you can now find Gary Rose Travels on Facebook as well. So this video is another in my travel guide to India Northeast. So in this video I'm going to be giving you all the top tips on what you need to pack for the Northeast, what food is available to eat in the Northeast, and also what can you buy in the Northeast. So as with all my travel videos, this video is based on a budget backpacker, so I'll be bringing you budget backpacker advice and lots of helpful hints and tips for you to save money. So first of all, what to pack for Northeast India. Now, as I have mentioned in my previous videos, you need to do some serious organising before you head up to the Northeast. You need to make sure you've got your medical kit sorted, you need to make sure you've got plenty of toiletries, you need to make sure that your kit is in good condition before you set out up there. Because once you leave Guwahati and then once you leave Shillong, tourist infrastructure is pretty scarce, so you need to make sure you've got these things sorted out. Now there is a hospital in Shillong, but the only one that we know of is it's an army base, because there's a big army base up there, and the only hospital that's up there is Big Army Hospital. Now we haven't been to this one and it's not in the guidebook, so it's not really recommended for tourists. Obviously if you desperately needed medical help, then there are doctors and things like that, but medical care is pretty scarce in the Northeast, so do be careful before you set off. Perhaps it'd be a good idea to take out some travel insurance before you set off for the Northeast. So as I've said, you need to make sure you've got your medical supplies in order. Also, you need to make sure you have got a sleeping bag, because although many places in the Northeast do offer things like blankets, the quality of these isn't always so good, and also it does get quite cold, especially the further higher up that you head. If you're heading up to Arunachal Pradesh, it's quite cold up there, it's quite snowy in places. Also if you're heading to Nagaland, it's very hilly and quite wet and cold, so again you might need sleeping bags for this. The climate in Assam is, although it is quite tropical, again it does get quite chilly in the evenings, and at night time it's quite cold, so a sleeping bag can be really helpful. The cold nights tend to range from October to February, so really it's only during the monsoon that it's not overly cold at night, but I wouldn't recommend travelling up the Northeast in the monsoon either. So do be prepared for cold evenings and cold weather. So as I've said, Nagaland is quite cold. We visited in January and February, and although the days were still quite warm, it was about 20 degrees in the day, the nights did drop cold, so do make sure you've got a coat or a fleece or something just to keep you warm, because remember there's no electricity, there's no hot water, there's nothing to get you warm. It's really basic facilities up there, so whatever you've got you need to rely on and make sure it's in good condition before you go. Also, what else? Insect repellent is a must for the Northeast, especially if you're heading to Meghalaya, because trust me, it's very tropical and everything bites. It's also a good idea to take some tiger balm or some menthol balm or something like that, because once you get bitten, those bites can really itch, and everything in the rainforest wants to bite you, whether it's leeches or spiders or fleas or flies or insects or all kinds of things, so they all want to have a good bite, so make sure you've got something for that. Toilet roll is okay to take, but I would not recommend using it in a place like Longwa or in some of the other places in Nagaland or remote villages that you might visit, because they simply don't have the facilities to get rid of it. These guys don't have running water, so it's unfair of tourists to take this type of thing because they can't dispose of it properly. It's not something that they ever come across, it's not something that they would use, and basically it's just going to get strewn around the village. I mean, it might get burnt, but chances are it won't do, so they can't dispose of it, so it's unfair. What I recommend you do is you either visit on a day trip, and if you're going to use toilet roll, put it in a bag, take it home with you, take it back to Mon or wherever you're staying, get rid of it properly, or just use water as the locals do. Same goes with sanitary products. Ladies, don't leave them littering around. Always get rid of them properly, because where there's not facilities, there won't be any way of getting rid of it, because it's simply not something that people use. So again, wrap up your rubbish, take it back with you, take it somewhere where they've got a proper bin, because if not, it'll just get strewn around everywhere. What else? Torches are an absolute must in the northeast. We've used these all over, never mind just Nagaland, we've used them all over, because electricity, especially in the rainy season in Meghalaya, it can be really wet, and it causes a lot of power cuts and things. So again, we really needed our torches. Obviously in the north, in Nagaland in the northeast, there's no electricity whatsoever, so we used our torches. We took plenty of batteries with us because they were a bit of a novelty item for some of the kids, and they wanted to play with them and look at them and use them, so we couldn't really say no, because they were so curious. So we just had to let them kind of get on with it, but we did take plenty of batteries with us. Make sure you don't take rechargeable torches, because there's no way of recharging them. Make sure you've got proper batteries as opposed to rechargeable anything, basically. What else to pack for the northeast? So if you are heading out into the wilderness for a few days, if you're going up to the Longwa, the village in Nagaland, or another village, or if you're heading down into the rainforest valley floor, perhaps you're heading out to Morlinglong, you don't want to be taking your big bag. What I recommend you do is you speak to the guest house that you're staying in, speak to one in Shillong, speak to one in Mon, and just ask them to look after your big bag for you. Very often they'll lock it away. All the guest houses that I've spoken about in my northeast guide on here, and also on the written blog, they all have looked after our big bags, so I can recommend these. They didn't charge us for it because they knew they were going to get business when we returned, so they just locked up our stuff, kept it safe, and this is really good because when you're travelling by shared sumo, you'll know it won't take you long to realise that there's not actually much room in them. So really travel with the essentials, travel with the bare minimum. Don't worry about taking lots of changes of clothes and things like that, because especially in Nagaland, your clothes are going to get really they're going to get wet, they're going to get muddy, they're going to get covered in smoke. It's not really a place for many changes of clothes, so just take like 1 or 2 sets, something for the day, something for the night. Again, in Meghalaya, if you're trekking in the rainforest valley floor, if you're out trekking for the day, don't take too much with you, just take your essentials. Take a set of clothes for the day, clothes for the night to change into. Try not to take too much stuff with you, because you might have to pay for an extra seat on the sumo as well. Just travel light basically, and just take the essentials with you. So what next? What to eat in the northeast? Now, food quality really does vary in the northeast. Getting vegetarian food is quite difficult. In Guwahati, it's mainly fish thali, chicken thali, egg thali, which is not the best. The hotel that I recommend does do some food. It does things like Maggi noodle, it does things like egg pakora, chapatis, and it does papad, things like that, snacks basically. But some of these are vegetarian, so if you are a vegetarian you can eat this. There's not many places to eat that are pure veg in Guwahati. There's a few places near to the temple that I spoke about in my first video. If you want something western, there is a Cafe Coffee Day. It's located near the courthouse in Guwahati. In Assam, it's mainly thalis and more thalis. A bit more variation from what you get in Guwahati. It's mainly there's more localized dishes, things like fish. There's like sour fish, there's like 5 different pickles, there's different vegetables, kind of jungle vegetables that you're not sure what they are. The hotel that I recommend does a really good thali, and it's very affordable, and they just keep refilling it. So if you don't mind a thali, that's what you're going to get in Assam. In Shillong, there's quite a lot of eating options, and because of where it is in the northeast, it's very heavily influenced by Chinese and Southeast Asian cuisine. So there's lots and lots of Chinese restaurants in Shillong. There's also a few things like coffee, pastry shops. Shillong's quite a trendy place for students to come and study, so there's that kind of crowd. There's some fast food joints, there's some kind of westernised coffee houses. So to be honest, it's not bad for Western food. I can't remember the name of one particular bakery, but I know it's located on Jail Road and it's really nice. So just head down there, have a look on your map, head down there and you'll see it. It's really quite nice. So in Meghalaya, the Khasi people, who are the native people of Meghalaya, their food is very heavily influenced by Chinese and Southeast Asian cuisine. You'll see things like pork on sale, you'll see pork in restaurants, you'll see pork offal on sale. This is quite similar to Sichuanese cuisine, and this is widespread throughout. They absolutely love it. In the guest house, I recommend staying in Meghalaya in the holiday resort. There's menu is really heavily on is really traditional Khasi food. It's quite heavily on you see things like pork and lemongrass and star anise and all these things that you just don't often see in the rest of India, if at all. So if you like your cuisine and you're quite curious and inquisitive, then definitely check it out, because it's something you won't be able to get anywhere else in India for sure. They do also have some vegetarian food in Shillong and in Meghalaya. It's not as meat heavy or as fish heavy as the other states. What else we got? So the traditional food of the missing people in Assam, on Majuli Island, that was probably the best food we've had in the northeast. Again, really heavily influenced by Laotian and Cambodian and Thai cuisine. Very, very different. To be honest, it was more like Laotian cuisine than anything else. It is pretty much everyone cooks in the traditional way. They all cook at home. They all cook on these big open, they're kind of like barbecues inside. All the food is wrapped in banana leaf, and if you've ever been to Southeast Asia, it's that really sticky rice that they serve in a block. It's like that, and on lots of barbecued meats as well, with marinated meats. So it's very different to anything else you get in India, and it was probably the best food we've had in the northeast, to be honest. Eating in Nagaland was very, very difficult, I'm not going to lie. We have to remember the people who live up there, especially in the remote rural villages close to the Burmese border, they don't have anything. All they have is like tapioca root, perhaps they have noodles, perhaps they have rice, but that's all they have because of where they live. So you can't really be too awkward and too fussy. I mean, it is a bit hard to eat, yes, but they do their best, they just don't have access to it. And with it being so remote, there's no real shops. There's a few little kind of snack cabins that sell biscuits and water and cigarettes, but aside from that, there's not really anything you could recognise as a proper shop. So whatever is brought from the main town of Mon 2 or 3 times a week, that is what they've got, and that has to be shared out between everyone. And they do their best to feed you, but please don't complain if it's not a lot. They didn't feed us any meat or any fish or anything like that, so if you're worried about that kind of thing, then that's not an issue. It's more like the amount of food. Again, you can buy biscuit. It's good to share the wealth between the villages. It's good to go to the different shops. Just do be careful not to eat too much biscuits and crisps and things in front of the local kids, because it's not really very good impression. What to buy in the northeast. So with each state is very different. Its handicrafts and its traditional gifts, traditional artifacts that they make. I'm just going to quickly cover this because I'm running out of time on my video. We found that a lot of Indian tourists flock to Meghalaya, flock to Shillong in particular, to buy unique handicrafts. Think everything bamboo. So if you're looking for something that's a bit unusual and a bit different, they have absolutely everything made out of bamboo. They also do their own. They weave their own. It's kind of like a sari. It looks a little bit like Welsh. If you've ever been to Wales, you know the red and white checkered. It's kind of like a gingham cloth, but it's bigger than that. It's a checkered cloth that they weave because Meghalaya. Welsh missionaries basically went to Meghalaya and converted them to Christianity many years ago, and that's why they still carry on this tradition. So it's quite unusual to see, especially when you see like their traditional tea houses built in the kind of like Welsh cottages. It's really weird to see out in the forest, but anyway, that's another story. yeah, they have their own unique handicrafts. In Assam, in Jorhat, they also have their own handicrafts. The men and the women, they wear their own unique clothes. And also in Nagaland, now this is something which would make a very interesting gift. The women of the village, they mine their own metals and they smelt it, and they create jewellery from it. And they also use animal bones, animal teeth, animal hair to make their own jewellery and amulets, and most people were adorned in jewellery and beads, and it's all made from natural products, from glass, from metal, from animal. We bought a few pieces from our host's wife because they're so unusual. So if you're looking for something really unusual to bring back with you, that is a really interesting piece. Also, again, it's good to share the wealth. And they put a lot of love into their artwork, and it's something which, again, you don't see in the rest of India because most of India are animal-loving Hindus, whereas these people are very different. So it's really good to bring something back from their culture. It's got a brilliant story to it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it has given you a better insight into what you need to do to prepare yourself for the Northeast, and also what to expect when you get there. I shall see you next time.